Capitol Hill, lawmakers have 8 days to come up with a new budget, all to avoid a government shutdown. We're taking a live look at the U.S. Capitol right now. Our Evan Koslof has been following all of the ups, the downs, all of the negotiations, and he's joining us now just to kind of talk about this and break it down. And Evan, we're really curious here. What's the latest fight on Capitol Hill, and what is this all about in simple terms?
Right, we've heard, you were talking about the ups and downs. There have been more downs as of late right now. They have just 8 days to try and find a solution here. And all the drama right now is focused on the House. That's where Kevin McCarthy needs to try and find the necessary votes to pass this type of bill right now. You may remember back in May, there was actually a deal for some $1.6 trillion. Right. That's what they wanted the budget to be at between the House Speaker and the President. But now some hardline members of the party are calling for lower. They want it to be $1.47 trillion. Remember, that's trillion. So we're talking about like $100 billion of a difference here. And he can only lose 4 Republicans to pass a bill. And right now he's losing more than that whenever they have these test votes. So that's the struggle, trying to find those votes when the political reality is that Democrats control the Senate and the White House. So it needs to be moderate.
And something that comes to mind here are the real life implications, right? So if this does result in a shutdown, the impacts that will follow, the repercussions, I mean, they're vast. And can you kind of touch on those in detail, what we can expect?
Right, and the biggest impact are the people that could be furloughed or could be forced to work without pay. I was looking up the numbers before, so it's some 1.8 million federal workers nationwide, and about 15% of them are right here in DC, Maryland, or Virginia. So, I mean, I remember it was almost 5 years ago when we had that last shutdown, and we had these federal workers and contractors literally going to food banks to try and get food to feed their families. And I was speaking with the head of the union who's telling me today, these are people that usually donate to food banks, and then here they are collecting food.
Well, and we were talking in the break, and we're thinking here, is it just political posturing? Are they really going to come up against a shutdown? And your instincts here are telling you what? Well, where do we go?
I've reached out to a couple political analysts, and all of them, they're struggling. They don't know how we could find a way out of this right now. I mean, there's always a solution eventually, but it's just difficult because they had a stopgap measure, which would have kept the government funded for 30 days, but it failed to get the votes needed in the Republican House. And frankly, what probably wouldn't have passed in the Senate. But one interesting thing is that there is some discussion about could the minority party, the Democrats, with some moderate Republicans, actually pass a bill on their own. There have been discussions on that. That would be unprecedented.
Okay, that's promising. But in the meantime, people's real lives, are on the line here, and their livelihoods, and it's scary.
It's a big deal for all those people who would go without a paycheck. And then one last thing I'll say, the National Mall 5 years ago was filthy during that shutdown because they didn't pick up that trash. And Bruce LeShan was talking about the porta potties. They were not pretty either.
All right, the real life implications of political posturing. Evan Koslof, thank you so much for your reporting. Thanks.